We are in conversation with RK Singh, Minister of State with independent charge for Ministry of Power and Ministry of New and Renewable Energy. Many thanks for joining us here on CNBC TV18.
My pleasure.
My first and foremost question is on the DISCOM dues. That is one of the biggest issue right now, and as of June 2019, the dues are at 32,532 crore rupees. Why has Uday not worked towards making these DISCOMs financially and operationally sound?
Two questions in that. And the one question is about the dues and what we are doing about it. And the second is why has Uday not worked? Let's talk about the first part of that question. We have taken cognizance of the outstanding dues. Now we have put in place a system with effect from the 1st of August, wherein power will be dispatched only on the appropriate letter of credit being given for the quantum of power which the distribution company wants to access. And without that letter of credit, power will not be dispatched. So now the system is in place, the system is working. So henceforth, from 1st August onwards, there are no question of any dues arising. Now we have put this in place for all generation assets, except for those assets which belong to the state concerned. That is for the state to decide on what terms they want to make power available to their DISCOMs. But everybody else, all interstate generating assets, all assets which do not belong to the state, you want to access power from that, you have to give an LC. So there are no question of any dues arising thereafter, insofar as current dues are concerned. Now that will leave legacy dues. And legacy dues, the distribution companies and the state governments will be well advised to pay quickly because the late payment surcharge is very high. And it will make sense to pay as quickly as possible. And the tariff policy which is coming, the tariff policy says that the late payment surcharge will have to be paid compulsorily. There is no question of waiving it off on any request. And so it will make sense to pay those dues. Now, insofar as Uday is concerned, you said it,
because your AT&C losses are a little over 20%.
Why has Uday not worked, etc. It's not that it has not worked. It has worked. And overall, the losses have come down from 20% to about 18% in the financial year 18-19. So, which is a gain of about 2%. But we still have a long way to go, and we intend to get there. I'm very clear in my mind. We worked out a roadmap for that. Now, the roadmap, the first part of the roadmap is already we have put in place is that now the system will switch over to prepaid. So we are we've given a timeline of 3 years for the states to switch over to smart prepaid metering. Now what that will do is that it will address the problems of inefficiencies in metering and billing, which is a major part of the losses. Now especially even before this, but especially after this huge expansion of the customer base which has taken place after Saubhagya, we added 26.4 million new consumers over a period of about 16 months. It was virtually impossible to do meter reading on time and to do the billing on time. So we are automating it.
It's already been 100 days, and if I'm not wrong, tariff policy was part of the agenda to get a clearance by the cabinet within 100
Absolutely.
days. It's been pending for a long time. Is there any changes that you're making into it? Are you planning to bring in the franchisee model for distribution companies to become more efficient, or maybe the private-public partnership like we see here in Delhi?
No. One about the tariff policy. Now, insofar as the delay in the tariff policy, actually we had gone to the cabinet. That was just before the elections, after finalizing it. You see, finalizing a policy like this takes time because you have to consult all the stakeholders and examine all the views and etc. which they give. But we did that. And before the elections, then we had gone to the cabinet. By that time, the elections came, so it was decided to pend it till after the elections. Now, after the elections, we've sent it back again to the cabinet, so it is with the cabinet, and we expect this to be taken up by the cabinet any day now. So it's going to come out, and it will be a major reform in the way the power system works. So about the franchisee system, there is already a provision.
Yes.
And we are drawing up the franchisee model and a model of multiple distribution companies. I have set up a group for this purpose, and I have had 2 or 3 rounds of interaction with that group, and they are progressing with their work. So hopefully I will get to, we'll be able to finalize these models and circulate it to the states for their views before we put it in place. And this franchisee system will also be a part of the reforms package which we are going to roll out.
Okay.
You can call it Uday 2 plus Deen Dayal Gram Jyoti Yojana plus IPDS, everything together. And so it will be a part of that reform package. And that reform package will have, apart from this, so that's why we will consult all the states. We'll have, apart from this, we will be providing funding for aerial bunched cabling in areas where the losses are high. We'll be helping the states set up police stations in areas where the losses are high, etc. Yes.
But the private sector participants which are part of the franchisee model or even the public-private partnership for the discoms say that franchisee model is not as profitable for the companies to operate in, because they merely operate in for billing and receivables from the consumers for the discom. But a public-private partnership model is the one where private sector participation will be quite high. So why are we opting for a franchisee model which has not seen much success in a lot of places, like in Bihar, Gaya? We did not see the success of the franchisee model.
They have succeeded in some places. They have not succeeded in some places. When you bring a new system, you have to keep in mind the ease of adoption and the issues which you want to address.
So will you be tweaking the model in some way?
Yes, we are. That's why this new model is being worked out. The earlier models had mandates regarding capital infusion by the franchisee, etc. Now we found that to be unworkable. It was not working out well. And another system whereby the distribution company, existing distribution company, continues to own the distribution system, and the supply company or the supply franchisee or supply licensee uses that wire or distribution system to reach the consumers and pays the wheeling charges, is a much simpler model. And I'm quite sure that the response will be very good, both for the distribution companies, because we are not taking away any of their work. The distribution company remains the distribution company and remains the owner of the system, right? And it will lead to better efficiencies, and it will actually address the very aspect which needs to be addressed. Now, what is the aspect which needs to be addressed? And that aspect is the loss between what electricity you distribute and the price thereof which you are supposed to recover, which you are not able to recover. That this is not the only model. We are giving a choice of models to the state
What
government.
are those, if you could explain?
So the second choice is that you can have multiple distribution companies in a particular area, where again the wire business will continue to be owned by the existing distribution company which owns it, and they'll maintain it and get the wheeling charges. Is it
similar on the lines of content and carriage separation?
And as far as the content, as far as the electricity is concerned, the supply will be handled by multiple companies. So that again the consumer has.
So where will the private participation
So the private
come
participation will be in the supply side, not in the wire
business.
Yes. So having multiple wire operators is inefficient and a waste of capital. So these are two models. And then as far as the PPP model is concerned, that is already out there.
Yes.
In the environment, and any discom or state government which wants to do it.
But you can push for it.
But basically, I'm not going to push for any one model.
It's open for the states to decide.
It's open to the state to decide. But I want them to choose one of these three models, whichever they want.
All right.
The state needs to get a choice.
Okay. What happens to the revival of the gas-based power projects? Because we have close to 25,000 megawatt of capacity lying, and right now the spot prices are really low, and there's been buzz that this is the right time to get into reviving these assets.
There's a group working on it.
Okay.
There's a group working on it. Let us see what comes out. You see, basically, the prices per se, if you are still high, and if you generate power from the imported gas, then it's still it is sort of it comes to the price comes to a level where it will not get scheduled. We have a merit order dispatch system whereby the cheaper power gets scheduled, and if it is expensive it will not get scheduled. So it's an open market based system. So you can't really have something which does not compete. So let the prices go down a bit further, and insofar as other aspects are concerned, let's say the cost of carriage, that means GAIL, for example. Now there, maybe, I mean, we can discuss with GAIL, we are discussing with GAIL as to how
Will you also seek some discount from the states on state taxes?
Maybe, let us see. Maybe, let us see.
By when can we expect?
But basically, I cannot right now give you a timeline when we will. Yes.
Okay. On the stress assets side, just recently, Secretary of Power has said that there are not enough strong buyers in the market, and it's not competitive enough. What is the status of the power sector stress assets? How much of capacity is part of it, and what is government doing to revive?
The buyer universe is limited. The buyer universe is limited. But I have told my major generating company, the NTPC, to carry out a survey. And if any asset is going for a price less than the appropriate price, which it should be fetching, then the NTPC will bid.
Okay.
So that assets are
any
not
particular quantum that NTPC is looking at?
That I have not laid down. So they are carrying out a survey of which are the assets which are well sound technically and machinery wise, etc. The banks have worked out, are working out, they are working on different aspects of how to get these assets functional without going to the NCLT. So
will that be ARC mechanism?
Through change of ownership, etc.
Okay.
After tweaking the outstanding interest rates, etc. That they are doing already. So it's happening. We came out. We had set up a group under the cabinet secretary. They had given some recommendations. We have adopted all those recommendations.
Yes.
So hopefully some assets became standard. About 6 assets became standard.
Okay.
And we expect more assets to become standard as the demand increases. We had carried out a bid, for power based on linkages for these stressed assets.
Yes.
So the first bid was okay. The second bid, the prices came high. So we are working on it. Yeah.